I don't know why they keep the doors closed for the room. Open those doors. Alright, there we go. Finally, that lady's opening the doors. Well, while we're waiting, might as well explain what I'm doing. So this is the LA Charter Reform Commission. This is basically the commission that meets every 10 years. And they vote on amending different aspects of the city charter, which is the constitution of the city that governs everything that goes on in the city. Everything from the authority to each of the positions that people have and so forth. And I've been discussing a pretty big item today. I know this stuff is usually pretty boring, but somebody like me, it's actually pretty interesting. So they're discussing the government structure and personnel structure as well. So who's reporting to who. And the only item they have on that for the recommendations come from Matt Zabel. But I'm here to make a comment about the recommendations that Controller Mejia made, which are shown below. He made 6 recommendations. So those are Mejia's recommendations. Basically, they say make sure that the controller has to have a CPA license, has to have an accounting degree, gets an independent budget, and so forth. Not a lot of people in person today. Man, the light bulbs on that one are all burned out. They gotta change that one. dun, 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 dun. Are you guys here to make public comment?
Yeah.
You got to sign. They got a little paper in the back.
paper, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just want to make sure a couple other people came and they were looking around. So the paper. Yeah, yeah. I don't know why my lens is all foggy today. Oh, the lens is all blurry, man. Hoping that's better.
Recording in progress.
All right, good evening, commissioners and members of the public. I'm going to call this meeting to order with roll call. Commissioner Andrades. Present. Commissioner Field. Present. Commissioner Fuentes.
Present.
Commissioner Lewis is absent. Commissioner Mack.
Present.
Commissioner Mesa is present. Commissioner Murray. Commissioner Sanchez. Commissioner Schladiger.
Here.
Commissioner Stein will be joining us, Commissioner Thomas will be joining us, and Commissioner Yap will be joining us. We have a quorum. All right, for the first item on the agenda is we will go to public comment. I will hand it over to our Executive Director to administer public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to start with our in-person public comment folks, and then I'll move to online public comment, virtual public comment, and then do a final sweep in the room. I will call people and ask you how long you would like to speak. This is a 2-item agenda plus general public comment is for a total of 3 minutes of public comment. And I will give a 30-second warning for however long to speak for, 1, 2, or 3 minutes. I'm going to start, so we have 3 people signed up. Henry, Andrea, and Juan. Henry, Andrea, and Juan, if you can come up to the microphone and line up. Are you Henry?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
Is that on?
Test. Testing. Test. There we go.
Thank you so much. All right, how long would you like?
3 minutes, please.
Okay. I will let you know when we hit 30 seconds left.
Okay, let me know when you're ready.
Ready when you are.
Good afternoon. I want to talk today in support of the recommendations that Controller Mejia has made for the Charter Reform Commission. I know today part of the discussion is on the government structure, and I want to talk about each of the items. Giving the controller an independent budget is an absolute must. We've seen what City Council has done to slash the authority and power and ability for the controller to hold the city accountable, and it's an absolute must that the controller has a dedicated minimum floor for a budget that he and he alone controls, so that he cannot be the victim of such vindictive policies and malicious practices. The second item is designating the controller as the city's chief financial officer, also further granting him not only auditing authority, but also particularly possible policy practices that some of which frankly should not even be part of other offices, whether they be the CAO or otherwise. They really should fall in the controller's lap. Number 3, establishing minimum qualifications for the controller. At the very least, having a licensed CPA as well as somebody with an explicit finance and accounting college degree is an absolute must. Everybody that I've personally worked with and then every other comparable city has such requirements. It's actually frankly incredibly bizarre that one of the biggest cities in America does not have that minimum requirement. Number 4 is, if we talk about the auditing portion, we should clarify the controller's audit authority and ensure that we give him strong subpoena power, not just simply waiting and hoping and praying that other departments will simply fall in line and actually do their due diligence and work in good faith and hand over information and records rather than having to force it and compel it through court orders. Number 5, we should allow the controller to absolutely hire outside counsel. Unfortunately, sometimes it does resort to the point where you need to have a court intervene and step in and give mandates, as we're seeing right now with the LA Alliance v. City federal case regarding the homelessness fraud. And number 6 in particular is enshrining the controller's fraud, waste, and abuse function. Without those programs and practices right now by this controller, and we've been very lucky to have with somebody as filled with integrity as him, we did not have this capability and we did not have such a candidate in the past that was very gung-ho in holding the city accountable and its officials accountable, and we need to absolutely enshrine that into the city's charter. If we do not do this, what happens is that simply becomes a recommendation. It simply becomes a guideline that you can take into consideration, but by law you can completely ignore and no consequences will be reaped of you. And that's just not, it's absolutely corrupt to not have that. Comparable cities do have such a thing enshrined in their city as well as in their state constitution for any and all city and state officials. And it's an absolute must that LA also follow through. Thank you.
All right, Andrea, and then 2 minutes, ready when you are. Can you bring that, sorry, a little bit, perfect. Ready, go. Thank you so much. And last on the list.
Here on the same item.
2 minutes, okay.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Juan Munoz with Unite Here Local 11, the Hospitality Workers Union. As our member just mentioned, our union believes that our elected officials must retain land use authority over commercial development in both adjudicatory decisions as well as general plan amendments. We oppose the recommendation that general plan amendments be deemed approved if council does not act on them. This would mean that important land use decisions like community plans or projects that involve the most significant changes to zoning could be approved without elected lawmakers weighing in on what is indeed a change to Los Angeles city law. Additionally, the change could be made by city council without modifying the city charter by city council ordinance, as it did for certain high-value projects. It does not belong in this charter reform. Please do not move forward with this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, before we come back to the room, we're going to go to the virtual public comment. And I'll note for the record, Commissioner Stein is just arrived. Alrighty, I'm going to call your name and we'll test the mic, and then you let me know if you have 1, 2, or 3 minutes, and I'll time you from there. Mike, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, Mike, 1, 2, 3.
Great, 3 minutes.
Go.
Great. Michael Feinstein, former senator, the mayor, readings from the Oaxacan Post. Saludos de la Totonapeña. I'm in Mexico. I have 2 things to raise with you today. First, I sent you all an email, some of you a couple weeks ago, and the rest of you today, that for your January meeting, when you consider council enlargement, that you ask your staff to come back with a matrix of how all the different aspects of city government that you're looking at amending would affect council enlargement, so that it's all in one sort of place. Obviously, the land use decisions that you're talking about today affect council powers, how many council offices would be with a larger council, whether single-seat districts or multi-seat districts, the number of council members and their power relative to the mayor, whether council members continue to have their same role vis-a-vis department heads, or would there be more of a city manager style government, as Rick Cole advocated to all, how different sized councils, whether they're in single-seat or multi-seat districts, would affect how many council meetings are held, and then all the financial aspects that come with ranked choice voting, with having only 1 election instead of 2. So having that all in a single document, rather than hoping your discussion is just going to have one commissioner or another bringing up those points during the course of the discussion, having a document in advance, I think would be very helpful. The other thing is that when you give direction on January 7th, hopefully to move ahead in council enlargement and to continue to explore proportional ranked choice voting and ranked choice voting as your government structure committee is recommending, that you specifically ask that the cities of Portland that uses proportional ranked choice voting and New York, which uses ranked choice voting, have a virtual presentation to the government structure committee at their January 22nd meeting, so you can now move to the point beyond theory to see with these major cities how this electoral reform is working in practice, and that all of you attend that virtually, rather than just depending on those commission members, that even though with the Brown Act you can't participate, that you do watch that. And then ideally, you would take questions at your January 7th meeting that you want those cities to answer. Take a vote verbally when the motion is made, and maybe have a time where we will submit further questions in writing. That can
30 seconds.
Potential presenters. And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Ned. Our next speaker is going to be Carolina. Can you hear us?
Hi, yes, it's Carolina Goodman.
Carolina, sorry, I will, you know I get it. We have 2 or 3 minutes.
With the lead, 2 minutes, please.
All right, ready when you are.
Carolina Goodman, League of Women Voters of Greater Los Angeles and member of FAIR-FLA. Thank you for the opportunity to give remote public comment so critical to your work. We hope you would make public comment available at all charter commission meetings and committee meetings. Look for a formal written comment to be submitted from the League of Women Voters of Greater Los Angeles about our top priorities for charter reform. We look forward to the December 11 meeting, at which time the Personnel and Budget Committee will be hearing presentations about policing reform. I know that you're looking for city officials to present and hope that you have reached out to Inspector General Matthew Maragon. Now, I'm speaking as an individual who has attended in person, remotely, or reviewed recordings of most of the meetings of the Charter Reform Commission. Given the very short timeline and the large number of recommendations you're considering for charter reform, I would suggest that you abandon committee meetings and meet weekly as a full commission in order to deliberate and make decisions about what to send along to City Council. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Brendan. Can you hear us, Brendan?
Yes, I'd like 2 minutes.
2 minutes and go.
Hi everyone, my name is Brendan Fisher. I am a member of LA4 and Local Families Party here in Los Angeles. My public comment here is mainly to advocate for a 5 to 10 year capital infrastructure program, CIP, to be mandated into charter. At the same time, in my organization, my volunteer group believes that this needs to be overseen by a single executive, not an entire board. It's important that this CIP is a full-time position, and someone that's where someone is able to focus entirely on the infrastructure of the city. At the same time, the CIP needs to include some kind of community oversight to ensure that people who are living in the infrastructure actually have a say there. At the same time, one element that I want to bring up is in the case study in the presentation file, it stated that there is a capital and technology infrastructure program, or CTIP. Ultimately, that does not necessarily guide project planning and prioritization. It's really just a list of all the projects the city has in the future plans. The CIP is far more comprehensive. At the same time, it offers a clear vision that the city has for infrastructure investment and its priorities. It also discusses various maintenance that needs to happen, because that's a primary concern for most people in Los Angeles. Not new projects, but actually taking care of what we always have. Simultaneously, this CIP will include a state of repair for all the assets in the city.
30
Right now,
seconds.
it's not clear if there is even an inventory system, and at the same time, it's unclear how we can possibly guide project investment if we don't know the state of what we already have. At the same time, the CIP would highlight all current and future sources of funding and offer suggestions thereof. And finally, we conclude discussion on any unfunded projects that are critical and need to be publicized in the event that certain circumstances require them. So I strongly encourage you to mandate the CIP in the charter
And 2 minutes.
as a, oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. Jamie. Can you hear us, Jamie? Jamie?
Yes, all items,
There you
please.
go. So, 3 minutes.
Yep,
Ready, go.
great. So first I want to say that I'm strongly in favor of having a capital improvement plan. It is absolutely ridiculous that the city of LA does not have one. I have witnessed things in my neighborhood be destroyed by out of control cars, and then there's absolutely no money to replace those things because we don't build in repair of things into the way that we plan things. We don't build in maintenance. I also want to speak strongly in favor of a 2-year budgeting plan. I think that the process that we have now is incredibly rushed. I think that it doesn't allow us to take a long-term holistic holistic look at our budget. And I think that the fact that we are on a 1-year cycle encourages council to both underestimate expenditures and overestimate revenue in a way that's not realistic. I think that a 2-year budget plan would help that. I also wanted to speak about the mini grant list, which thank you for posting that and instilling all the people who applied. But I have concerns. A lot of this just seems like it's stuff getting added into newsletters. I don't know how much effect that would have. I also have concerns with the fact that one of the awardees is a newspaper. And so the fact that I think that there's an inherent conflict of interest when you have an outlet that is supposed to be reporting on the news about this commission, but yet is receiving money from this commission. I don't actually love that. I think that the news should be independent, and if you guys are seeking to have news articles generated, it shouldn't be because because that always adds in optics there. And lastly, the thing that I've been thinking about is that there's been so many things that haven't even been brought up in this commission. I know we're finally getting police reform next week, but why is it that we're just getting to that when that is the biggest line item in our budget? And whose choice was that? I think a lot about the times that you have sort of this tremendous power and tremendous opportunity to do something to change the city, to do something to better the city. And what does it mean when you're a person who sits on your hands for the status quo? What does it mean when it's sort of the old running the commission rather than the commission running the staff? And that's been the impression that I've gotten this entire process. I'm glad that we finally have telephonic public comment at least some of these meetings.
30 seconds.
And did the one yesterday, and I couldn't do that. Also, my neighborhood council has a CIF that we filed. It wasn't added into this agenda until I emailed to get it, so I will be back for that. Thank you so much. But also, please make sure you're adding the CIFs from the neighborhood council because you're supposed to be. Thanks.
She's not wrong.
Lionel, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, how much time?
All these.
3 minutes, go.
Yes, thank you. I'm Lawrence Neighborhood Council Budget Advocate. Speaking on behalf, I'd like to echo the comments made by my friend Jamie York and by Mike Feinstein. And I'd like to thank Frank Stoltz for publishing that news article yesterday on KPCC LAS. Thank you so much, Frank Stoltz. And I'd like to thank all the activists, Rob Kahn and everyone else for their advocacy. I am concerned about the charter reforms work, the staff reports. I've heard from others. I'm very concerned because this is our only opportunity to make LA better for everyone, to make LA work for everyone. And we need to reform civil service. We need to streamline the hiring process for non-sworn civilian employees so that the city provides the services that it needs to all illegals. Because there are many vacancies, and I'm concerned about the budget and the fiscal emergencies can have an impact to city services. I do not want layoffs. We have to find a way to prevent layoffs of non-sworn civilian employees. Because what Jamie said, that we have the biggest budget, and it's not fair for other departments to suffer the price because of the city's financial mismanagement. I have urged everyone, budget advocates and the like, to take action on this issue. We must protect the city's services from further decay, infrastructure, and I hope that this commission will pay attention. I also like to thank Raymond Meza for being quoted in LAS on Frank Stoltz and reading the articles. Even though I'm on vacation right now, I'm still completely advocating for the city of Los Angeles because I care that it's my hometown. We must reform our government. We must do it. We must combat lobbying. We must fight corruption because we're paying our taxes, and it's not fair for all workers like Filipino to have to pay more and more and not get the services that they desire, that they need. Thank you very much. Happy holidays.
Thank you. You as well. Happy holidays. Next speaker. And that's it. I'll do one final sweep of the room. Sure. All right. And go.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is John Neary, and we urge your support of a charter amendment to apply your capital plan. I'm a member of the Cities Council to provide an organization called Investing in Place, what you've heard from this commission already, the response and this issue of detention and service. I work in the construction industry here. I've also been an advisor to cities across the U.S., including here in the city of LA. And I want to emphasize that for no other reason, we should adopt a 5-year capital investment plan so that we can no longer be an outlier, an exception, away from best practices, away from the things we know are the right thing to do for the people that live here, work here, pay taxes here. There's a lot of reasons and best practices that we heard about, just to give you perspective from industry. When you add that transparency, you naturally get more ideas and solutions from industry. You get more people interested in what you're doing. You can do more projects more quickly. And ultimately, you end up with more bidders, better bids, and better value for taxpayer dollars. So hopefully implementation of the 5-year CIP is pretty much an easy step or a controversial step. I think the harder part is who's responsible for doing that. who has the accountability and responsibility to do that. And I think you've heard different options. Some are more status quo, and some are much more aligned with true reforms. A director of public works does make the most sense to be able to have that clear line of authority according to the mayor and the city council. We have a police chief, we have a fire chief, we have a budget chief, we need an infrastructure chief. And I'll use an analogy, which is a busy kitchen. Does the busy kitchen run more effectively? The
Oh my
single
God, this guy's amazing.
chef who's in charge, or does it run better with a lot of folks in that same kitchen? The last thing
Made no
I want you to do
sense,
is,
bro.
whatever you do in your deliberation, do not add more lines of authority or positions without deleting lines of authority. The last thing we need here in our city government is more layers and more convolution. I do wish you the best in your work. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. And on the record, Commissioner Yap has now joined us as well. And how long would you like, sir?
Ron, I'd like a few minutes.
And go.
To play on some words from Councilmember Rodriguez, this commission has been a 6-month merry-go-round for hell. Same thing again and again. I'm not sure what I'm more baffled by the staff report not being posted until another 24-hour before the meeting, or that in the 2 weeks it took staff to turn that around, they couldn't bother to indicate how the committee voted and why. We've got an ED report, microgrants budget, all would have loved that maybe more than an hour in advance. I think you all would have liked that as well. In addition to the weirdness of giving grant money out to a news outlet, one of these organizations, our deputy director was the planning director of. So I just wonder who had decision-making authority here and what kind of ethics training we had. I do have to apologize to you all. I was wrong. I misled you this summer when I advocated for him as a continue on as chair. I was misled. I thought he was well-intentioned, committed to serving the greater interests of his colleagues on this commission in this city. I thought he was going to hold the staff accountable. I could have been more wrong. Sooner or later, you're all going to realize that he's faking. I'm sure a lot of you have been in the process of figuring that out, and it took me a couple months to accept it. He's been the fall guy. But the real problem is right there. You're doing a little bit bad cop there. I just wonder who you are and why you're even in that chair, for what purpose. And for somebody who paints themselves out to be a progressive, it is weird that you've been profiting off of ISIS deportation machine. You own stock in Palantir. Somebody from a labor perspective owns stock in NVIDIA. That is wild. I'm sure you all feel like changing the chair might be disruptive, and the problem is that the most disruptive thing you can do is ignore it. This is the biggest, most fundamental problem. I wish I could tell you there's an easy way and a hard way, but at this point there's only a hard way and a doomed way, because what they want is this all to fall apart in a month from now when it's too late to fix anything. So, if you're not going to fix it, I say let's just pull the plug, send it to council, let's save some money and get the people who are actually going to be deciding involved in this thing. You might have noticed that the city fabric contract was posted. It wasn't accidentally posted by the staff. What do you mean? And why is it that your approved budget
30 seconds.
for $300,000 in outreach services, it still does, and we have a contract authorized up to $410,000? Why was it approved in early August and not posted on Rampa until 2 months later? And why are you only getting it now? You've all been asking for transparency. This is not, I know you have a lot of policy work ahead of you, and there's so much ahead, but this has been a reoccurring problem. Are you going to fix this? Do you realize how the people who are on the Redistricting Commission have so much shame for how that went
And
on?
thank you for your minutes.
It's not going to be a source of pride on your resume, it's going to be a blemish.
Our next speaker. And last call. Anyone after? Yep. Hello? 2 minutes? All right, where do you a little closer to the mic. Karen. Perfect. Go.
2 committees so far have heard from a group that has been advocating for AI protections. And I like that, but they haven't actually made any charter recommendations. It's been very frustrating to listen to. I have one. Establish a charter technology oversight commission. It should have the authority to, over what technology is used by our government
PA.
Correct. It's
Already
different.
exists.
And personal privacy is.
Mhm,
It should
already
also have
exists.
represented from each district. That way, you can have general people say, I can see why this would be useful for us to be using, but you also guarantee representation from heavily policed communities. So that if they can say, I don't feel too comfortable with this, cops already use this to police us potentially illegally, like Waymos or stingrays. We should be able to have someone over at our city say, we don't want to use this. To the things here, I am concerned about the committee structure. So far, every committee has been talking about things and saying, we've got budget issues, we don't know what's going to happen. We should send it over to the Budget and Finance Committee. But the Budget and Finance Committee is completely unaware of all of this other stuff, and the other committees have like, shit, why the hell are you like, well, they're still having to deal with police reform. But if hoping things get done, I do hope and fully support that the streets for all argumentation of splitting up the BSS responsibilities into the Department of Transportation. I please encourage you to watch the Streets for All presentation from October 18th. It is interesting. They explain why it works for other cities. It is worth a watch. If you watch the Fair LA recording of it, it is timestamped, so you don't have to watch the whole day. Finally, for the government structure, you guys have been talking about election, education, reforms, and talking about how much does it cost to educate people for ranked choice voting. What have other cities done? Well, we did this a few years ago. We had our own election.
30 seconds.
We had we changed to electronic voting machines. The LA registrar already went through voter education. We already know what the viewpoints are going to be. We had mock elections. We know what the costs are going to be. So when you guys are talking about what are the potential costs, you need to hear from the LA registrar. Jeff Klein was the person in charge of outreach and in charge of voter education. He's the person you should contact for hearing about this.
And 3 minutes. Thank you. Mr. Chair, that can you please come for comment?
I have one more. There's a bunch of people in the,
Are they coming down?
I pulled up, I told them, what they need, and then
We're going to go up there and double check and make sure that everyone comes in. It's always been posted, I think, in this room. We back and forth. Thank you for letting us know.
not a problem. I think 2 minutes. Sure. Thank you very much. All right. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Nicholas Caputo, Executive Director of Global Advanced LA. I'm sitting over the FRA Council and holding member of that Council's Planning and Land Use Committee. It was one of the fastest building areas of Los Angeles. I'm also involved in architectural nonprofits, focused on wildfire project design. I mention this all because I've seen the breakdown between planning and infrastructure up close repeatedly and far more often than any moving good ways should have to. What you're addressing in this process is not abstract. It affects residents, builders, planners, and community organizations every single day. We're assembling a 30-plus item cross-organization charter record sheet with contributors from many different centers. This commission has a rare, time-bound opportunity to fix structural problems that the public experiences constantly. First, Los Angeles must adopt mandatory 6-year general plan updates and a long horizon, metropolitan vision embedded directly into the chart. That vision should affirm long-term priorities about walkability and density in the neighborhoods already built for downtown, Hollywood, Koreatown, Center City, and other transit-rich urban centers. These are areas with the bones of modern sustainable metropolis, and that this commitment is not symbolic. It shifts civic culture. It acknowledges that LA is a city with many distinct souls, and that planning for housing, transit, jobs, and public space must coordinate as interconnected systems, and not let them drag into silos. Second, the charter must require integrated governance, planning, housing, and all works cannot remain disconnected bureaucratic islands. This fragmentation is why we face infrastructure backlog, years-long permitting timelines, and goals that fails to align with reality. A modern city cannot function. Land use and infrastructure as are governed separately. Third, the charter still hard codes height and density limits of another era. These constraints must be removed. A charter should never dictate building codes. Plans and ordinances should. Fourth, we support support creating a unified Department of Streets and Sanitation, consolidating SCAM responsibilities while fully protecting labor. When economy is clear, service improves. Finally, to ensure LA never again falls decades behind planning of governments, we strongly encourage adoption of automatic charter update commissions every 10 years. Cities of all, their constitution must follow with them.
And thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. That is one.
All right, we now move on to our next item on the agenda, which are neighborhood council community impact statements. I am aware of one, but if there are others as well, please raise your hand virtually or in the room. And I do see a hand raised virtually. Okay, Jamie. We can hear you now. You have 3 minutes.
It's actually supposed to be 5.
I'm sorry, 5. Thank you.
Good job, Ruben.
Alright, so, this is from the Reseda Neighborhood Council. It was passed by the board, with 10 yes and 3 abstain, and we submitted this about 2 weeks ago. So I was a little bit confused as to why it was not listed with your documents until I emailed, but that kind of seems to be par for the course with all those other documents going up late. So this is a large CIS that talks about a lot of planning and infrastructure issues. So LA DOT and BSS have been chronically understaffed and under-resourced. Despite being asked to do more than ever amid ever-degrading infrastructure, their capacity is lower than it was a decade ago. Budget challenges have resulted in fewer resources to manage our streets, leading to an increasing reliance on expensive outside contractors. In addition to improper staffing and chronic underfunding of relevant departments, the illogical segmentation of city departments and responsibilities leads to inherent inefficiencies that must be addressed in a time of fiscal stress. For example, the city fails to meet even basic accessibility requirements, including Section 4 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, which legally requires cities to reconstruct all curb ramps that are not ADA compliant when repaving. At current funding levels of 200 curb ramps per year, it would be impossible to comply with this federal requirement. After the passage of Federal HLA, the city has its own legal requirement to upgrade certain active transportation and transit infrastructure during street maintenance. Rather than face this head-on, the city has instead deferred maintenance for years. We reiterate our ask for crucial changes to our city budgeting practices and department organization, funding, and staffing. Make LA DOT a charter department that has a responsibility to design, construct, excavate, and maintain streets and sidewalks, property line to property line, essentially moving this duties of Streets LA to LA DOT. This is in line with most large cities where the department that manages street safety and traffic flow also has the ability to effectively build and maintain streets and sidewalks. Provide dedicated street operational funding with a regular percent of city assessed property values similar to libraries and parks. Much of the city's funding sources are unreliable, but receiving a dedicated percent of all taxable property values ensures reliable funding for some of LA's most vital public services. Replace the Board of Public Works with a director position similar to other city departments. The Board of Public Works, unlike other departments, reports to both a board and a director. The department should be headed by a single director with clear authority between the mayor's office, the department, and the bureaus. Change the city budget to a 2-year cycle and formalize a minimum 5-year capital improvement plan to support long-term planning. The lack of citywide plans and tumultuous budgets impedes efficient, effective, and equitable spending of our public funds and pursuit of new funding opportunities. A capital plan would also make infrastructure plans more transparent to the public, especially for those who have to live near planned and potential improvements. As an example, in Reseda, we have had a street that has had flooding every single time it rains, and this has been going on for years. And we still cannot get a straight answer from the departments, from the city, as to when this dangerous item will be fixed, just that we're in line. Make long-term sidewalk repair and mobility plan implementation part of the capital infrastructure plan. Los Angeles is a glaring singular outlier among peer cities for not having a long-term capital plan. To Such a plan for sidewalks would lead to better budgeting, prioritization, and transparency. Increase funding and capacity for curb ramp construction and ensure all curb ramps are brought up to current standards during repaving and other road alteration. This ensures compliance with the federal accessibility requirements during road maintenance and alteration. Failure to do so risks additional liability. Then jeopardizes future federal funding for transportation and roads. Implement a pay-on-transfer sidewalk repair system. Sorry, I'm calling you, I'll try to do this. Implement a pay-on-transfer sidewalk repair system for adjacent property owners, such as system will allow property owners to fulfill their obligation under state law to improve the sidewalk to the front of their property.
30
and
seconds.
defer payment until the sale of their property, or a system that offers a maximum time limit for repayment of the lien. This would avoid sudden burdens while also speeding up repairs and firming up currently laxly enforced private responsibilities. And lastly, invest more funds in sidewalk repair and construction. The slow and cumbersome process of the village settlement is not enough to get our sidewalks in shape at the speed needed. Funds should support not just sidewalks, but other sidewalk elements, including tree planting, shelters, lights, benches, etc.
Thank you, Jamie. Are there any other approved community impact statements? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is approval of meeting minutes from our last commission meeting on October 29th, 2025. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing no discussion, can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes? Commissioner Field moves the motion. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Andrade. Any discussion? All right, seeing none without objection. All right, minutes are approved. Thank you, Commissioners. Next item on the agenda is the Executive Director report on outreach and other matters. Executive Director.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, and good late afternoon, Commissioners.